Yeah, these big
Tell you honestly, cannabis is helping me a better parent, a more
all been in this game, been interested in this game, been involved in this game, pushed for the legalization game.
everybody. Mike Sims here on a beautiful Thursday, a hot Thursday out there. But coming at you live from the warehouse, Let's Be Blunt podcast. We're going to try to start doing these more regularly. We're kind of all over the place right now. We got a lot of content to talk about, a lot of movement in the cannabis sector, both in the state and nationally, finally. Not all good movement, but at least it's moving. But we're trying to come at you more with knowledge and education of the industry and people within the industry that's making these moves and doing these things. And you know, there's a lot of moving pieces. It's a huge industry. A lot of people that are making all these moves. You know, we hear it on the news and we talk about these laws and things, and we don't quite understand how it affects people that live day to day by these laws. Literally, with the stroke of a pen, all of this can be gone, or we can have a whole new business open up. So, you know, I think that's why it's important. A lot of people hear these things in the news and they hear these things by their friends and don't really have an educated opinion on it because they don't know much about it. So hopefully with these podcasts, we get a little better each time. We bring a little more education, a little more understanding, so you could at least make a valid argument or decision on your own when you hear these issues come up in the news and publicly at these political segments and all these other things. But anyway, we come at you today. I have a very special guest in the studio today. I met this person a few years back when we were fighting for smokable hemp flower in North Carolina. And Taylon.
Hey y'all.
Hello.
So happy to be here.
Yes, so Taylon comes to us from Asheville, North Carolina. Leicester, right?
Leicester,
yep. And she's a very special individual and very unique individual, and I mean that wholeheartedly. But you know, immediately after meeting her, she's a very small in stature, but she fills a room. She's very passionate, like I am, about cannabis and a lot of other things, and you can tell she knows what she's talking about. And so happens she's also in the industry, and she knows her stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit about everything today, about the industry, about advocacy, a little education, and about her product line. And, you know, I think she's found a good niche that needed to be filled ultimately. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to let her tell you about it. But take the floor, Taylon. Welcome.
Thank you for coming in. Yeah, so I drove up from Asheville today. And like Mike said, we know each other through activism and the smokable hemp flower ban. That really wasn't that long ago. Yeah, ultimately, I feel like so many things have happened politically that feels like years and years ago, but that was about last year that the legislators said that they were afraid to have smokable hemp flower in North Carolina. So as we talk about movement, you know, we've got bills on the table that are moving, maybe not exactly how we want them, but the fact that just last year they were saying no way to hemp flower, and now they're considering and having these conversations around the legalization of medical cannabis just shows that these conversations we're having, showing up, being activated, is helping in North Carolina, whether we're seeing just a quick action from it or not. Right. So I'm the owner of Simply Extract, and we're 100% woman-owned, farmer-owned, and we started out as a hemp extraction business and really wanted to focus on small farmers because processors started popping up all over the state after hemp was legalized, but then they started just upping their minimums on how many pounds of flower you would need to bring to them in order to turn it into raw CBD. So what was happening is these processors were saying 200 pounds, 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds. Small scale farmers had nowhere to take their flower to get it extracted. So I really kind of honed in this small farmer market because I realized if we cut out these small craft farmers, I mean, we're kind of completely killing an industry.
Right. And unfortunately, it's kind of up to us to keep this industry regulated. The only regulation really in it is for THC testing. So, it takes people like myself or Taylon to keep the bar set and understand what the industry standards are. But, a lot of companies out there, no different than ourselves, what we do what's called the white labeling our products. There are a lot of great companies out there that make everything from seed to sell on their farms or their facilities, and we love that, but it just wasn't our business model. And we learned that there's a lot of experts out there, such as Taylon, that do things much better than we know how. Maybe one day we could be fully integrated, but our passion's in the flower itself, and I love seeing it grow, and I love watching it being processed, but it's not really my passion to do it. So what I get to in this is it's rare that people in this industry do a little bit of or all of their own things, and Taylon does that, correct?
Yes.
Because like some of us, even the people that like make their own products, at least buy the distillate or the extract or the isolate or whatever to make these products, but literally from plant to sell.
It's really neat too because I get to choose the farmers that I'm working with, and Settle Seed Farms is one of the main farmers that I'm working with. She's a woman-ran farm out in Rutherford County. I say it wrong. You have to say it Rutherford to be able to actually say it. But it's neat because all my products are supporting small local farmers. I don't work with farmers within 60 miles of my lab, so it just makes it where you know that purchasing this isn't going to be money to New York, Pennsylvania, anywhere out west. Like it's North Carolina here, and that's the way we can keep sustaining things. And I think that was, the extraction side was a big thing, but then I realized how many of these farmers wanted to create their own lines. And I was like, well, if this is a way to generate revenue for the farmers, like why not kind of go down that alley? So I began manufacturing products, and that's really how I jumped into product making. And then I realized just how much I wanted to do within these different products for other people. And I was like, let's just do it ourselves here. We're already making it for so many other people. And I have really focused in on women's wellness and intimacy wellness. And one of the main reasons for that is there's such a gap in the market for these products, but CBD is very much an enhancement to sex. And we're kind of noticing with women wellness products too, there's so many gatekeepers in allowing us to access the products we need to have better sex, better wellness overall, and it's time that we start talking about these things more openly so it's not so stigmatized. And I think that that's kind of one of the main reasons we do anything is we're kind of trying to shake things up here in the world, and we're trying to kind of put our foot forward and say, hey, like we don't have to do things how we've always done them. And that's kind of what this line is to us, is it's time to provide the gap in the market.
And you talk about, first off, your growth is amazing, and I think ours as well in this past year, and you talk about it not being that long ago for the hemp flower ban. In between that is this pandemic, this COVID thing, and it's been a silver lining to it. It's awful what's happened, but I think it's made all of us take a deeper look in ourselves and our own self-wellness and where we do get our medicine and our food supply and everything. So I think this is right on time and in a niche that people, don't talk about, because sex is a kind of forbidden thing that most people don't talk about. We're over-sexualized in America, but it's on the surface. Nobody talks about it. It's insane, really, especially when you travel to other countries and see how they handle it. But there is a lot of things people definitely don't talk about associated with sex, pain or anxiety, discomfort, all kind of things. And every part of our bodies, especially our genitals, are very receptive to these products. Our CB1 and 2 receptors, a lot of them we're hyper, we got a lot of vessels in these areas, a lot of absorption in this area, right?
And that's actually why we started our CBD suppositories. Is your rectum's the most bioavailable way to take CBD. I mean, a sublingual, you're putting it in your bloodstream, you're swallowing it, but your digestive juices are still taking some of that away. So this is a way to get it in the bloodstream really fast. Women are dealing with cramps, they're having issues with intimacy. This helps with not only the anxiety that comes around kind of just projecting that this is going to happen. You know, it kind of gets you in a better state of mind, but it also helps with the inflammation. And, you know, COVID times has made products like this more just readily available, and people are more willing to purchase them because COVID killed connections. I left a very long-term relationship during COVID. I think we all, like you said, just kind of reevaluated what meant something to us. And right now it's like people's relationships have been destroyed. You know, quarantine did not do a lot of good as far as just like the pressure of just being in one spot and seeing one person daily. So I think couples are more inclined to try something a little out of their bubble to just kind of reform that connection. And we're doing a lot of stuff around just sacred sex, and that is connecting deeper than just on the surface level. And I think that this is a good time for this, and it's due time.
It is. And that's amazing. And it's, you know, no tougher two industries with stigmas and the cannabis and sex industry. What a marriage.
The conversations I'm having with people right now, it's just like,
it's amazing.
It's a lot of blushing, but
and
it's
I'm sure
fun.
you probably experience like I do. Like people come up, nobody wants to come up and talk to you, but once one person does, it's like
Everybody
the flood
does.
behind them. Everybody's, I got a question here. But this is cool. So, you know, go through what, so we got a whole line here, and I love the packaging and everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems like it's becoming very popular. I follow her on social media, and it seems like it's kind of creating definitely people are wanting this, and you know, so tell us a little bit about your whole line and what they do.
Yeah, I'd love to. So we have our CBD passion salts, and these are Himalayan salt, Epsom salt, calendula oil, sweet almond oil, and then we infuse it with lavender, rose, bergamot, and we put arnica petals all throughout, which arnica is also a natural anti-inflammatory. So this is soothing muscles, really getting blood flow going again, but it allows you just to kind of sink in, relax. It's great if you've got sore muscles, but I kind of do this little foreplay is kind of what I say, is it's kind of like getting you in the headspace, and all the essential oils are, you know, aromatherapy kind of playing into that as well.
Who doesn't love a good bath?
And I love the little scoop. Scoop's a little
And I wish we had
extra.
smell vision. It smells amazing. She sent in some samples prior to this, but it smells absolutely amazing too.
Yeah.
So the bath salts, that's where it starts there. And a lot of those things you're pronouncing, I definitely could not. And you know what they are and what they do. That's impressive enough too. Right?
Well, and we really infused a ton of aromatherapy in all of our stuff because, yes, CBD, but also like our body is so sensitive to all of the senses. So we were kind of trying to create an experience with this more than just, I've got an achy shoulder and I'm going to put something on. And it's like, why not just relax while you're taking care of yourself? So the aromatherapy line, this is our sensual massage oil. And this one is actually infused with lavender and lemon balm. And it's, I mean, the second you put it on you, it's amazing. It's not overwhelming, and we were trying to be careful with that too. Some people get headaches if they have too much scent on them and all of these different things, but we're actually in the process with partnering with Soji Spa, which is a large spa in Asheville, and they're going to do upgrade
I want to go there so bad.
all the packages.
They're always booked every time I go.
Yeah,
up there.
they stay booked. But yeah, they're going to do add-on packages with all my massage oils, so I'm excited to get it
That's
more
exciting.
in the community. And then, so basically we kind of broke down these collections in two different ones. It's our self-love collection, and that's more of like the personal care side of things, and that's our CBD acne wash. And this is actually got plantain skins in it, which I don't know if you know much about plantain skins, but
They're
it's
delicious.
like,
The plantains, I never.
they're amazing for the skin.
Okay.
Then we do lemon balm, a little bit of tea tree oil, and cocoa potash. So it's a similar recipe of like an African black soap, and then we blended the CBD in. What's great about the acne wash is a lot of people don't realize, but if you're trying to dry out acne, you're not really doing yourself any service if you're completely stripping your skin of oil. And this makes it where you're cleaning out all the dirt and the grime, but you're still leaving your natural oil in your skin. So if you do completely dry out your skin basically gets upset with you and starts creating even more oil, and that creates even more acne. So we have formulated this in a way that it's keeping you clean, drying out your acne, but not completely just wiping you dry. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then we've got our sexy salve, and this one's rose, calendula, lang lang, and lavender. And I say it strange. That's my southern way of saying it. It's called like yang yang, ylang lang, but I call that lang lang. And it's actually an aphrodisiac. In China, they gift it to people that just got married. And this is all local beeswax, smells amazing. It's got a really good consistency, but this is more really foreplay. It's rubbing into your shoulders, getting your body in more of a relaxed state, and yeah, seen a lot of movement with that one. And then our suppositories, these are really our buzz right now. Like, this is what's bringing people over to the other things that we are working on, because it is a little bit different. You know, I think boofing things is kind of this millennial things, like
the old booty bump.
The old booty. It's bippity boppity boof is what I'm trying to maybe coin with that. But it's so effective, and it's so effective for gut issues. And really how I got into all of this was I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease back in 2010, and I was so sick, got down to, you know, in my 80 pounds and couldn't function as a person. And my father was a police officer at the time, and I told him I needed to use cannabis for Crohn's disease, and he was just like, what? Yeah. And I started using it, and it was night and day. It was just, it was like 3 or 4 days, and I was already like, I was just on the up and up, and I have completely gone into remission because of cannabis. So and I was in Arkansas, where I'm from originally at the time, and I just decided, like, I'm going to dedicate my life to legalizing this plant. So I helped start a group that worked on the Compassionate Care Act in Arkansas, and this was about 4 years before they legalized medical there, and worked just on the ground floor with all of that. And I moved to Asheville, and I'd moved here right as the executive director of Asheville's Normal had been arrested, Todd Stinson. And he had a pretty big following, and everybody was just kind of like ticked off about all of that. And they had just shut the Normal down when I moved to Asheville. And I called North Carolina's Normal, and I said, hey, who's running this? And they said, well, nobody right now. If you want to start it, you're welcome to it. So I was like, dope. I'll do it. So I restarted the Asheville's Normal, and we helped push for the legalization of hemp in North Carolina. We helped raise funds, because basically at that point in time they had like passed the bill, but then they said there had to be $200,000 raised for the commission, and that had to be publicly funded. So we put all these fundraisers on with Carolina Hemp Company and a lot of just kind of the first players there, and I was in the activism world, but once we got hemp crossed over, I was like, I'm going to jump in on this. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got in. But the suppositories help with gut issues so much, and I had used one before, and it was just, it helped me so much without making me feel foggy. And THC suppositories are amazing just the same. They don't cross that blood-brain barrier, so you don't get this like mental high. It's more of just this like nice body buzz,
like having a great day.
Yeah, like you're having a great day. And so yeah, suppositories are amazing, and especially with cramp relief, just really any pain you're having just a little bit lower, it just hits it really hard. So super excited to share those with the world. Awesome. And then we've got our CBD lotion and chill. And this is an aloe vera based lotion, and it's infused with lemon balm, and it's 2,000 milligrams CBD. So that's high hitter there. And I always have old ladies that want to completely cover their bodies in this because they have arthritis, but then they're like, I can't get up.
Anything that helps the pain is worth it. Yeah.
And then we have our intimacy lube, which this is really the one that I feel like I'm getting the most traction on because people want it. And this is a really basic formula of just MCT oil and CBD full spectrum extract. And I was careful with that just because of pH balance. I think that's the biggest concern anytime you're buying a sex product is, has this been tested? Is this going to mess up my pH? So we made sure that this is vagina tested, and we made sure that we're really careful with this. But it's amazing, and it smells like weed, and it tastes like weed, and to me, there's something really sexy about kind of integrating this into my sex life completely.
Absolutely.
So,
That's cool.
and then, so we used to do quite a few different tinctures, and then we've really just realized that the higher potency, you know, people can take less if they want to take less. I before had like a 500, 750, but we have stuck with our 1,500 milligram. And this is our afternoon delight. We've actually added daytime terpenes to this, so you can take a big dose, but you don't feel like you need to go to sleep. We added limonene and myrcene to this, so it's got a really nice buzz to it, and you don't get tired when you use it. And that's
nice
my
sativa buzz.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm after. And then we do our Mountain Magic gummies. We just got into Delta 8, I guess about 2 months ago or so, and I mean the market loves Delta 8. I was really hesitant for a long time because I wanted to make sure it was as pure as possible. And someone with an immune disease, I'm really cautious about what I put out in the world. But yeah, I'm super pumped to have this new line out and just sharing it with the world.
It's a beautiful lineup, you know. And
thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it does, you know, ultimately, I think women are the minority in this industry anyway. And then, you know, once again, there's so much other health issues that men would never understand.
Right.
So it's absolutely amazing. And, you know, I know plenty of people in my life that come the dreaded time of the month, the menstrual time is excruciating pain. And they don't want to turn to Tylenol or ibuprofen or Advil or what have you. So this is pretty amazing. Definitely. So this is something we're probably going to be carrying in our stores, you know, moving forward. It's like a working kind of thing. I've known Taylon for a while. It's my first time really hearing her spill on her line as well, and it's awesome. And, you know, it's just somewhere we'll be carrying our store. Otherwise, where can they find you, or you in Asheville, or you on social media?
So online store, of course, is simply extract.com, but we are in all the apothecas. We have some, I mean, we're all over. We're in about 7 states now. We're in the Hookah Hookups. We are at Asheville Hemp Farms. We're pretty much anywhere you're stopping in Asheville. So, and we're hoping to kind of do the same throughout North Carolina here soon. So, and, you know, one thing that has been one of our biggest missions is cannabis legalization, ultimately. It's like, yes, hemp, 100%, but there's so many people locked up. And it's pretty shitty that I can make money on this product as a white woman, and there are black people that have been locked up for minority possession, and it's time that we change that. And I think it's really important, and I appreciate the work you're doing, that people in this industry, like, we have to step up, because if we are going to just like be the silent ones, who do we expect to lead these movements? Who do we expect to pass these bills? The legislators don't know about how to regulate cannabis. They've never even smoked it. And if they have, they're not going to tell anybody because they're embarrassed. Do we want people like that writing the bills? Do we want these kind of people pushing for what these bills are going to look like? No. Like, we have to step up, and we have to start donating to causes like the Last Prisoner Project, where their whole focus is getting people that are locked up for cannabis out. And it's heavy on my heart that we all need to do a better job at uniting and pushing this stuff together.
And it's so important. And I try to touch on that as much as possible. And coming off the heels of just coming back from Vegas to the Champs convention out there, the cannabis convention, it was absolutely amazing and beautiful, first and foremost. But it was also bittersweet because it's like, this is as big as any convention you'd see out there. You know, pharmaceutical, alcohol, any big conventions we've seen in the past. And it's amazing and beautiful. And people are walking around smiling and happy, and, you know, job growth is happening, and tax money is being generated and all this. And it's so bittersweet to realize, as I'm enjoying this, someone's literally getting arrested at this moment for the same thing or even less, and probably doing full time. And it's what I express on the show a lot. Even if it's a minimal charge, even if they do not a day in jail, it's on their record forever. It becomes a life sentence. So, you know, Taylon is one of the few folks. There's a lot of us in the industry. She's one of the few folks that does practice what she preaches. She advocates as she pushes the industry forward and pioneers. And you talked about Todd. I've already told him he's got to come on the show too. But, you know, there's a lot of other people that ultimately are like my competition, but not, because we're all in this together. So I want to open this show up to everyone, even if we're not going to carry your line in the store. And even if you don't have a line at all, if you got a story to tell about cannabis, if you've been on the wrong side, hey, if you hate cannabis, I want you on the show to tell me why. Let's talk about it live. Let's get through this. Let's have these conversations about why we can't access these products as adults. And, we should have the freedom to treat ourselves as we want. And everybody's fighting these vaccines and everything right now. And it's great to see people at least stand up for their own beliefs. But I'm like, where have you people been for the last 100 years for the thing that could probably save you? And right now there's actually studies that's kind of shown that people use CBD. I forget, someone sent a couple copies this week, but apparently CBD helps people not catch COVID as well.
I've heard this,
right?
Yeah.
And now there's like an actual government study with links and everything. It's crazy. People have sent it to me. I haven't had a chance to read through it, but it's so much to this. And people hear, wow, let's legalize, or I have no problem getting weed or whatever, and you think, hey, no big deal, but you don't think about the risk people take to get you your bag or whatever, or think about what it could be if we had full legal access. And it's bittersweet for me because the black market's great. And it's been great for 100 years that it's been outlawed. But when you go out to Vegas or you go out to these legalized states and you see that they've legalized, and it's like, okay, this is cool, but you realize the arbitrary laws behind it and the greed and the politics, and you realize they're ruining a beautiful industry.
They're ruining this industry.
Right. So it's so bittersweet. It's like, okay, thanks for the access, but you're killing it altogether. But even out in Vegas, for example, just the words Delta 8 or the symbol Delta 8 on the side of the bus out in the parking lot had to be covered up. Like that, just the words in a fully legalized state. So it's all political. It's all BS. Right now, we got, 2 medical bills, 2 recreational bills in North Carolina. Out of anything out there, is there anything you could get behind, or where would you like to see us in the next? What do you think's the fastest route, and where would you like to see us in the next few years?
Knowing the North Carolina legislator, I think that's the biggest thing, is how I feel is not necessarily how I feel like this is going to go. Because I'm a realist and I've been working in this industry for a long time with them. I think, of course, we will get medical first. And the Senate Bill 711, this current one that's on the table, there's a lot being left out of it. But kind of their plan, as I've been listening to their legislative sessions, is they're wanting to start it small. They're wanting to focus on kind of the worst ailments. It's AIDS, multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, cancer.
Severe PTSD.
Yes, it's basically, it's very, very limited. But their whole point was saying, like, well, we'll do it really small, serve these small people. We'll only do 10 licenses. Each one can have 40 across the state. And that would make it where it's such a limited amount of people going. We'll start it like that, get this thing going, and then we can expand. My concern with that is they will pass this and then nothing else will happen, and they'll say, well, the sick people can have it, nobody else can. This is medical for every single person that uses it. Stress is one of the largest killers in America. Everyone that is using cannabis, whether you're saying it's recreational or medical, it is medical. So my biggest concern with it is, and I was listening to one of their legislative sessions, and maybe I misheard, but the way they were saying it is, in order to operate one of these dispensaries, you have to have a card. Right. Which to me, and I have Crohn's disease, so knowing what I deal with on a day-to-day basis and still being able to run a pretty small-scale business, to expect someone to run a dispensary in a first trial basis that has an ailment that probably is going to be triggered by stress is one of the stupidest things you could do. And that's me speaking. I could get that license. It's like, this is going to benefit me if I want that license. But I do know if you have these ailments, it's going to be really hard to create a well-running industry. And I don't know if they're doing that because they want it to be like, well, if someone's sick, then they're going to not be so greedy. I doubt that. I would like to think of it as, well, maybe they know that these people's hearts will be in it better. But what I think is happening is kind of setting us up for failure a little bit if they keep that in. And I think we need to just clarify that, because I don't think that, and companies will just go out and hire somebody that has Crohn's disease, transfer their percentage to that person, run their business. Like, that's not going to keep greed out of this. So I just want to make sure that we're setting this up in a way that will be successful for expanding later on. And, that is my biggest concern. I do think it's better to have something than nothing. I think that having access, if you have cancer, like I have so many older ladies that have cancer, and they're just coming to me being like, hey, can you provide this for me? And I'm like, you know, it would be beautiful if they could just go somewhere and feel safe and not have the anxiety of using cannabis and be like, ooh, I could get locked up, so now I'm having a panic attack thinking about that. But I do worry that if we do this in the wrong way, we'll get stuck in it. So I think making sure we have enough activist eyes on this, making sure that we're not about to just get fucked, I think is a really important thing.
That's what's important, man. And I used to say, and we've had a lot of talks about this, but I used to say, look, some movement's better than nothing. At least we're going in the right direction. But I take that back. Like, I've seen California still trying to fix their whole program, and they're recreational. My biggest problem with the whole bill is they keep talking about the money generation, and it's like, look, is this going to be a medical program or is this going to be a recreational program? Because to me, recreational is your money generator. Your medical program is just that. And to make it available to such a small group of both growers and sellers, and not only that, patients, and then to so heavily tax it and fee it, it's going to make the product itself so expensive and ultimately unaffordable for the few people that are allowing it.
Right.
So it's an absolute mess. But magic wand, riding a unicorn, what would be your perfect ideal situation? Just free market or?
Yeah, I think just free market. Everybody can operate just like any other business. People aren't getting locked up for it. People have access. Nobody's going to jail you, pull you over for weed. I would like to see it just like any other plant.
Sure.
And, you know, of course, I do think child safety on things. Like, I think that you can package things in a way that it's safe, but I think just being able to do it free market and let us regulate it ultimately. And I think that with the hemp side of things, we've shown that even without all these rules, people will still get COAs on their products. I feel like the best of the best stepped up and said, we're just going to regulate ourselves in this. And I think we're all competent humans that can make choices for ourselves, and our government's completely overreaching on this. So I think just like legalize this, let's move on, because the opioid epidemic right now is destroying America, and maybe if they focus some of those resources on that and providing more mental health care, you know, that's what a lot of things of addiction, of just a lot of our problems in America just come down to trauma and us not treating it. And I think that if we could start refocusing our resources here a little differently, it would be a better world for all of us.
Yeah, it's crazy. You bring up the addiction and you know, the overdosing thing. I was reading this morning, it was a meme even, and I went back and researched it's true, but last year we lost 93,000 people directly to a fatal overdose of opioids. And to put that in perspective, Alabama's football stadium holds 90,000 people. So, you know, there was a visual representation of what that many people look like. And to think that many people probably could have been saved with access. Not everyone. Everybody makes their own decisions. And there are cannabis users that unfortunately are also opioid users. But I think better access to these things would prevent a lot of that. And as far as the gateway drug argument, I think a lot of people go other avenues because this is such a tough avenue. You think even growing up, I was laughing the other day with these pens these days. It's so easy to smoke in public. Yeah. But back when I was young, you fire up a joint 3 blocks over, they know. Yeah. Now I don't care. I still do it. But, you know, it's different choices now. We're learning. We've been lied to for 100 years plus. This used to be one of the number one medicines in the United States. And it needs to get back to that. Our bodies literally receive these to heal itself. Yep. And there's a reason our body holds on to it for 30 days plus, because it needs it and it uses it.
Well, the fact that we have cannabinoid receptors all over our body is insane. And with the sex products, like I started looking into all the receptors, we have so many in just like our reproductive areas. And it's like our body is literally just asking for this. And this shows you how long we've had a relationship with this plant. Like we go back and back, like this is one of the plants we took with us and bred. Like there's not that many plants that have female and males still we took that as we evolved, and now our bodies are just, it's made for it. So it's needed, it's medicine, and I think just continuing to push this is more important than products, extraction, anything else. It's just freeing this plant. I work for her mainly, only. I don't work for anybody else.
This plant, I always say it chose me. And, you know, you talk about kind of how you keep evolving with your brand and your company, and it's ultimately what it did to us. It's why we're sitting in this podcast studio or whatever. It's like you find a need and a void and you fill it. Right. So where do you see yourself post legalization, or as we move forward? Is there another line you want to go to? You want to stick kind of intimacy or intimate health, or?
I mean, I think that just being able to provide access to cannabis, like I definitely could see me running a dispensary for cannabis, creating experiences around cannabis, maybe even on a more intimate side. But education's one of the most important things to me, and I think that I'll continue to just educate, get this plant into as many hands. I live so in my now right now because the industry is always changing so much. It's like I can't get too stuck on like where I want to go because it's shifting nonstop. But I just want to make sure that people feel safe using this, and I can help people be safe using this ultimately.
Do you see yourself expanding more into the Delta 8 market?
You know, I am actually working on Delta 8 topicals right now, and I'm working on a Delta 8 intimate lube. So yeah, I'm definitely
interested in those
yeah,
things as well.
I'd like to go down that lane until I'm hoping we just get THC soon, because that's really what I want to play with.
And that's what I tell people, like Delta 8's cool, but let's be honest, the reason we have Delta 8 is because we couldn't have Delta 9.
Exactly.
So it's cool. We love them all. We'll take what we can get. And for those that haven't tried Delta 8 or CBD, again, what are you waiting on? I know your cousin, your grandma, your mom's uncle, your friends down the street, your coworker, at least somebody you know has tried this product and said, man, you would not believe how amazing I feel. And it still kills me because you know how many times I've given samples to friends and family, and I go back and, how'd it go? And I could tell they're very vague in the answers. And I'm like, yeah, I tried
You didn't
everything.
even
And
try
they're like, no, I haven't. And then it's crazy, like even my own mother, hey mom, if you're watching, I love you, but it took me forever to get her really taking a regimen of CBD. And she's like, when I stop taking it, my wrist really starts hurting again. I'm like, you don't say.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and I think with CBD, a lot of people will try it and say, well, I didn't feel anything. But it's not like you're going to take CBD and feel it like cannabis. Like this is
Or
a different
Delta 8.
cannabinoid. What you're going to feel is the absence of things. You're going to notice that, oh, wow, like I'm not aching like I was. I'm not having a panic attack. Like it's not this thing you're going to feel in you like you're intoxicated. It's an anti-inflammatory. When you take ibuprofen, you're not like, whoa, dude, I'm feeling that ibuprofen. No, you're just feeling better. So I think that going in with the mindset that you're not going to get buzzed off CBD, but you are going to have an anti-inflammation response to that. And that is very different than the Delta 8. But I say, try it. I think you'll like it.
Nice. So I guess like I always like to ask people, what is your why? Is it the Crohn's disease or is something else that got you in this? And two-part question. And have you changed your father's views as a policeman?
My father actually takes CBD every day.
Awesome.
And he has neuropathy. And he went from taking 9 gabapentin a day, and he's down to 2.
Wow, amazing.
And he didn't want to try it, He saw me. I do so much. Like, you wouldn't know that I have Crohn's disease if you hear about all the things I'm working on. And he saw firsthand me gain 20 pounds, like, get my life back. But my why is my oldest sister is diagnosed schizophrenic, and I was raised watching how awful the mental health care system was in our country. And I had this drive to do something about that, and that's how I ran into the political realm, and I've run for office before, and I really just went down this route of how can I help people not be afraid to talk about mental health, and how not to be afraid of seeking help for their mental health. And when I started on the CBD, it was like, yes, it was Crohn's, but there's a lot of other things at play there of just people, mental health. I feel like CBD helps them so much. And really, I just want people to be able to take their health back in their own hands and not feel like there's something wrong with them if there's an ailment to them, whether that be mental or physical. I feel like mental health, we've stigmatized it to the point where, like, look at those crazy people. And it's like, no, like, we need to be supporting this part of our community that needs help. And ultimately, I just want to help people.
And what I realized being a human and being 40 and being in retail is every one of us is crazy.
Yep.
Just some of us hides it a little better.
Exactly.
Some of us could tuck it in. I find myself, one of the struggles I find is I hate kind of Swiss Army knifing this plant. But what I mean by that is people ask me, does it help this? Does it help that? Or I'm telling them it helps this and it helps that. And I feel like I kind of snake oil it, and I think that's the feeling people get. But look, this literally does fix so many things. And people like, you'll start trying and it'll stop. Nah, I didn't feel anything. And you might be in great shape and perfect health or whatever, but you will eventually need these products. You might as well start sooner rather than later. But yeah, so it's, you know, it's a great movement. We got a long ways to go. We need a lot more access. But yeah, so as far as right now we're fighting for so many things politically or whatever, what do you think, what would you tell somebody trying to get involved in the movement of cannabis? What is the most productive current path of making any change right now? Direct to senators or what?
Direct to senators in the House within the state. So you need to look up who your state House representative is and who your Senate representative is in the state of North Carolina, and you need to contact them now. The best way to go on their website is ncleg, so it's ncleg.gov. If you go to that website, you can look up any representative that's in your area, and you can actually see with this bill, Senate Bill 711, what committee it's in. It just went through all the Senate side. We got to push for home grow. That's one of my biggest things here is they're trying to kind of take the power away within this bill because they're not giving people access to grow it themselves, making it where if you don't have money, you can't access your medicine. I don't think medicine should ever be taxed.
Yeah.
You know, no one wants to be sick, so I think it is kind of a money grab to be like, oh, you're sick, so here's a bunch of taxes on this. But I think home grow is something that we really need to be pushing the legislators to add amendments for. Equity programs, like there's a lot that's been left out, but I'm going through and I am seeing more things in there that I don't hate. And a lot of the bills that have been on the table, I've just been like really annoyed. My biggest thing is this one, you know, we don't need to have card carrying people to run the centers. Like that's that's dumb. And I can admit that, even know that I would be able to get that. And that speaks volumes, I think, to how dumb that bill is. Right. But I think, yeah, just reaching out to your legislators. North Carolina Normal is working on this pretty heavily. They've got a new team in there that are pretty dedicated. So looking at your local Normal chapters, I think works well as well. So just plugging in anything, whether it's just posting and telling people like, hey, I smoke cannabis because of this ailment and it makes me feel better. Even like declaring things, as long as it's not going to jeopardize, you know, your work, your job, your relationship. Yeah. But I think that us being more vocal, that we're using it, will allow everybody else to feel more comfortable in being vocal in that.
And I love it. And, you know, sometimes I'm sure you feel the same way. Sometimes I feel like, man, we're really making progress. And at other times, it's like, man, we have regressed 10 years. And,
I know.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like she said, you go up there and you hear these representatives speaking on this plant, and it's like me speaking about, you know, long distance running or something. Obviously, not any idea what they're talking about. No. And it's painful to realize that. And even this 0.03% THC was an arbitrary number, just kind of pulled. And here we are, what, 5 years, 6 years into it, still trying to get that changed. Yeah. So it's just, it's absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we're making progress. Up in Nashville, you know, going up and visiting, it almost seems like it's already legalized up there. And if you follow Taylon on social media or know Taylon, she's always fighting for some kind of cause, fighting for something or someone.
And you guys can follow me. It's at FarmerTay.
Yep.
So I do a lot of activism stuff, and then Simply Extract is just at Simply Extract. But yeah, we try to be loud about the things that we care about because we have a platform, and I think that's the biggest thing is if we have a platform, it's important that we share our stories and continue to push the things that are right because we can create a new world, but it's going to have to be a very combined, united effort here, and it has to be us being authentic, speaking our truth, and really getting rid of this fear that has been ingrained in us for so long of not being able to do that.
I absolutely love it. So, you know, this is just a small peek into Taylon and the whole industry, and again, like, follow her on social media, you know, get to know her, get to know how to get involved with anybody in the movement. And educate yourself. There's plenty out there now. There's plenty of viable, good information, like you said, through Normal, through ACLU. There's a lot of different good things. Hit us up. We can get you some good information. But look, ultimately, to date, 0 people have ever died from cannabis. So let's start there. And, you know, if it helps even one person, it's worth it. But so we're going to keep moving forward. And I tell everybody out there, again, if you have a story to share, if you got something to tell involved in cannabis, positive, negative, whatever, we want to hear from you. And it doesn't have to be someone you necessarily work with, but everybody has a why. Everybody has a story. So before we sign off today, what is the one thing you want to leave us with, or what do we know about you, or what's a call to action, or what do you got for us today? Anything? Anything you
Let
want
me
to
see
leave us with?
what flows through me here real quick.
Yeah.
I think right now it's take a deep breath.
Yeah.
We're all going to make it through all of the super strange transitions right now that we're all going through. Don't be too hard on yourself in this time, because we as a collective are all feeling this stressed out bullshit polarization. Love your neighbor, because we are all human here. And I think the less divisive we are right now, the better we're going to be in this future that we're creating. We don't want to create this future in this fear that we're in right now. So I think take a deep breath, focus on you a little bit. Don't forget that you are human and you're imperfect, and take a little bit of CBD.
I love it. A little bit. Take a lot of bit of CBD, actually. And I'm going to take a quick second to a little plug. So thanks to our sponsors, Charlotte CBD, as well as formerly known as, and we're going to be known as moving forward as, Crowntown Cannabis. Why is that? Well, when we started this, we wondered why we call ourselves Charlotte CBD, because if people Google CBD in Charlotte, they're going to find us on Google by default. Move forward, we cannot trademark that, and we found that out after we got in business, and we also figured out we got more of this plant now than just CBD. We have other cannabinoids that we can use. So we got it trademarked now. We are now Crowntown Cannabis.
Crowntown, I love it.
Cannabis.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And we will be moving forward. We will be Crowntown Cannabis, and we'll be franchising very soon. We're also opening location number 3 in Concord, North Carolina. We're at 119 Country Club Drive, Northeast, and we'll be having a grand opening for that September 18th. And you'll be able to find some Simply Extract products there. Maybe you can come through and join us for the grand opening. Come meet Taylon. And we'll have music, and we'll make it a celebration. We think we'll have a joint rolling contest.
Yes.
Maybe a smoke competition. Something I want to get you involved in too. Tyler out there, Sean Tolliver, Chris up at Salem Organic, all you guys. I want to do a smoke off, man.
Yeah.
Brian Bowman, Carolina Hemp.
I'm going to smoke y'all under the table.
I want to do a smoke out. We'll all just sit down, have a round table. We can do it live. We do it on camera. There's a fire truck in Winston-Salem you can rent out and ride around. I want to do that too.
I'd love to smoke in a fire truck.
Let's do it, man. Let's keep this conversation going. Look, this industry got to where it's at because we all work together.
Yep.
And once we got a little taste, everybody kind of divided.
Yeah.
And I think if we unite again within this industry, we can make these changes and get this access.
100%.
And let me tell you, as a very happy person, and this plant is instrumental in that. Every day it brings me wealth, prosperity, health, happiness, amazing people. Everything I have in my life, I can directly contribute to cannabis. And I'm telling you right now, you can have the same, period. The same great feelings, the same health. You can get rid of those social anxieties and the stigmas around even being the weird one or the odd person out because you enjoy these things. Trust me, the whole
You're unique,
career.
authentic, embrace
Own
it.
Yeah, but I want to thank you again, Taylon, for making the trek from Asheville today. And thank you for all the fights that you do and continue to do so.
Yeah.
And you guys will, check her out on her social media.
Can't wait to meet y'all.
Yeah, if you're ever up in Nashville, hit her up. And again, we'll try to have her at the grand openings and everything, and come find her products in our store. And as always, everyone, peace and love and cannabis. We love you.